Hey adventurers, so today is going to be another review. This is going to be a faster review, but anyways, this is going to be for Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. This is a classic. This is fiction, of course. Not a whole lot else for me to say about this story in terms of subgenres that it fits into, because while there are other ones, basically this is a classic, and that's what you can expect this book to be and what you can expect from this book. It's also Charles Dickens, which in and of itself is like a whole subgenre. So anyways, Oliver Twist is one of those stories that seemingly everybody knows. I have an abridged version from when I was a kid that I assume I've read at some point in the past, because I used to read all the time as a kid, and I'm pretty sure I read every book that I owned as a kid. But for as well known and seminal as this work is, I don't actually know the story of it, or I didn't actually know the story of it before reading this book for some reason. I don't know how I missed it. I mean, I knew that Oliver was an orphan and a few things surrounding that, but really not a whole lot else beyond those things. With that though, I was able to go into this book as I like to do, which is knowing basically nothing about it. It ended up being completely different than I expected, actually. All my life I kind of thought this story was about Oliver joining a thieving crew and then having to deal with the repercussions of that and try and make a good life for himself. But though that is kind of part of the story, it's only part. Oliver's story is more about a good kid being in hard situations and trying to make the best of it. He's a kid struggling over and over again through no fault of his own, but unfortunately he can't escape it. And that's really what this story is this kid who's struggling and has to try and survive, and he's having a hard time of it, even though he has these moments when he thinks that it's going to be okay and then it just isn't. And I really enjoyed that. Before I continue on with this review though, I'd just quickly like to say, if you're liking what you're saying from an Erudite adventurer, we'd really appreciate it if you'd like, comment, and subscribe. So everyone around him, meaning Oliver, seems to want something from him, and they seem to think that he's a rascal to some degree. But the people who actually spend time to get to know the real Oliver are the ones that end up liking him. I did expect the Artful Dodger to have a bit bigger of a presence than he did. I don't know why I had this conception, this idea, but maybe it's just because that's what people talk about is the Artful Dodger. That's what they talk about from this story. And maybe in the movies he has, or the adaptations, he has a bigger role than in the book. But we don't actually have a ton of that character. Anyways, makes sense because the story is not about him, the story is about Oliver Twist. Strangely enough though, although I loved the book, I don't have a ton more to say about it. It's definitely one that I think everybody should read, and it's an easy classic to get into if you're just dipping your toes into classics and you really don't know what you're getting into or where to start. I think this is a decent starting place. Part of what pushed me to read it at the time that I did was that I kept hearing people talk about it. The Wickwire Watch by Jacqueline Hagan, which I haven't read yet, I've been hearing people compare Wickwire Watch to Oliver Twist to some degree, or there's being some comparisons at least. And because of that, because I was interested in this Wickwire Watch, I was interested in reading Oliver Twist so that I could then see and understand the influences or comparisons that people were talking about when referring to this book, or when saying that, oh, there's this thing that reminds me of Oliver Twist. And because of that, I wanted to read this book. I wanted to read it beyond that as well, but that's kind of what actually pushed me to do it when I did. I still haven't read Wickwire Watch, so I don't actually know what those comparisons are or anything like that, but I am happy to have read this book when I did. I think I was at a good time to read it. I needed an audiobook, essentially, is what it came down to, as things usually do. I just need an audiobook, and classics are great for audiobooks because I can get through them. I'm too slow of a physical reader to make progress through all the classics and through all the books that I'm being sent and all the books that I want to read that I have physically and all that stuff. So it was good for me to actually just be able to go get through this book relatively quickly on audio, and so that's what I ended up doing. Anyways, that's my review, a little bit more rambly than I expected it to be, but that is my review for Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. Thank you guys for watching, and Erudite Adventure will be posting lots of videos at the moment, so we will see you guys again soon. Stay warm.